Hey guys, it's been a while. I haven't made content in quite some time, but I've decided that I want to come back for the full release of Core Factory, which you may or may not know to be the successor to Sword Factory X, which is a game I previously recorded on my channel before. And my apologies if I sound a little bit stuffy or off. I am a little bit sick today, but I still want to get this video out for you guys. In this video, I'm primarily going to be covering what Core Factory really is, all of its core mechanics, and comparing it to Sword Factory X, seeing what's better, seeing what's worse, and seeing what's different. Let's get into it. Well, what is Core Factory? At its base, it just seems like a factory simulation roblox game with some elements of a tycoon in it, which it is what it is. But at its core, there's a lot more to behold. To quickly summarize it, it's basically a game where you go around, you collect particles from your core, or, yeah, your big core. You create more cores, you upgrade them, and decide to sell them, or use them as weapons to battle NPCs. It sounds really simple, but in reality, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, and it's surprisingly addicting. Core Factory has been in a beta for a little while now, and it just now recently went into its full release about a week and a half ago. This full release also brought lots more players to the game. In a time frame that Core Factory has been public, it has gained over 500,000 visits, which is astounding for a kind of niche game, to be honest. Sword Factory X was already a pretty niche game, which there were like maybe a couple thousand people on it, and then translating to Core Factory years later and still keeping some of the players is still kind of shocking to me. But it also goes to show that the game might actually be very good or better than Sword Factory X. So that's what we're going to get into. Immediately loading into Core Factory, you can see I've played it before. I'm pretty familiar with the game. But you can see that it's quite different from Sword Factory. There are a lot of familiar elements here, like all these machines, but there's also a lot of different things, like this vending machine, this like interactable conveyor belt. It's all very unique, and we're going to dive into every single little detail. Starting off with the first thing that you'll do upon joining Core Factory, you'll find your core. It is this big core in the middle of your map. It's impossible to miss. And how this plays into everything is incredibly unique, because in Sword Factory, pretty much everything was from your swords exclusively. But in this game, it's a little bit different. The core generates particles, which when picked up give you shards, XP, and money, which are almost all completely unique to Core Factory. And immediately starting off, you're not going to have machines or be able to make cores, which is what replaced the sword. Instead, you'll use the money to use your upgrade tree, which is brand new, and you'll keep on progressing and progressing until you unlock the machines over here. These machines function very similarly to how they'd function in Sword Factory. One giving you like a rarity, a grade, a mold, enchant, level, a class, everything. All those function just about the same as Sword Factory. However, it does have a pretty unique trait to it. That being, it costs a little bit to actually produce a core. In the top right, you'll see the currency, it looks like a little flame. That's heat. Every time you produce a core, it takes away a little bit of heat. Heat builds up naturally over time with your core. As you can see in the bottom right corner of my heat amount, you can see a number that shows how much heat I'm gaining per second. You can upgrade your heat max capacity, the amount of heat you're gaining per second, and also the amount of heat it takes to make a sword. But in turn of upgrading that, your cores will become a lot more powerful. The start of Core Factory seems to be a lot more interactive than the start of Sword Factory, in my opinion. The start of Sword Factory, don't get me wrong, is very fun, but I don't think it's any match for Core Factories. This is just because you get to sit here and interact with all these things. You get to pick up particles, learn all these new things about this environment and game that you're in. While in Sword Factory, you kind of just press a button and create a sword. And next, what I'm sure you're waiting to know is how the ascenders work, which luckily they have not changed too much. They work just as you'd think they would in Sword Factory. The ascender is a very crucial game mechanic in terms of upgrading cores and building up solid cores for you to use or sell. However, what is new is that in your second ascender, you have a pity luck, meaning that after a certain amount of rolls, you'll get bonus luck towards that core, which can be very good for upgrading cores that may have big upgrade jumps, which is completely unique to this game. The one major thing that I appreciate about this game a lot is that you have to pay attention to your health a lot. In Sword Factory X, at a certain point, it didn't matter like what health you had. Once you got to a certain rarity, you just wouldn't die ever at all. You just go out and kill everything with ease. While in this game, that's not the case. There's always going to be a struggle with doing enough damage or having enough health to face these monsters. In this game, they're called inverts and obverts. And there is some lore to the inverts and obverts, but I'm not going to spoil that here. If you want to learn about it, come join Core Factory. It's going to be the first link in the description. Come down over here and talk to Bob. He'll tell you everything you need to know about the inverts and obverts. The next thing I'd like to show you is the bank system. The banking system is quite different from how it worked in Sword Factory X. In Sword Factory X, it's just like an area where you could drop your cores and then you could just pick them back up. But it functions similarly in this game. However, it looks very nice. It is this vending machine right here. See, I have a core in here. I could click it and it'll drop out and come out. This is very nice considering this game is supposed to have like a mechanical feeling to it. And the game wants you to feel like you're inside of a factory. You're actually like pushing buttons. You're working on stuff. And this vending machine accomplishes just that. You can scroll through it, drop stuff inside of it, and take stuff back out. It's very satisfying, and it works really efficiently, and they weeded out all the bugs with it. So it's a very unique banking system that functions very similarly to Sword Factory X's, but it's just overall a lot more polished, in my opinion. Now, in Sword Factory X, quests exist, but they don't function that well. There's a small set of quests, and when you complete them, you get a very small reward that doesn't scale appropriately to your level. However, in this game, if you go to the quest tab, let's go to daily, you get a list of daily quests which can take a good bit of time to complete, and you go through and complete them and get rewards appropriate to your level, and it scales up very nicely, meaning that you actually have like motivation to go out of your way and complete these quests. And on top of that, they give you a special currency called matter. Matter is a very crucial element in this game. You use it to upgrade your matter tree. These are like upgrades that boost your cash and everything by a good margin, except they do get quite expensive. So you need to manage all your matter properly if you want to be able to spend them effectively and get all the bonuses you want. Now, a big worry I had about this game is it crumbling just how Sword Factory X did. A very big factor that I think played into Sword Factory X dying was the lack of machine usage. Pretty much you'd only be farming dungeons to be able to have a small chance against something good. And I was scared that when playing this, you'd only be out killing mobs and the factory would be completely useless. But they completely worked around that to make sure that the factory stays useful. You can still get very useful items. Like I'm not going to say commonly, but you can get very useful items for you that are like outside of killing mobs. You could produce very high molds or high rarities or high grades that could be very useful for you to use in the ascender or just in general, albeit more rare than like finding a mob of that rarity or that have that stat. It's still possible, so it gives more reason to like AFK your ascender or AFK your machines rather than just AFK mobs all the time. Now let's get into the PvP aspect. There are 6 islands in the game, 5 of which are PvP. I only have 4 of the PvP islands, but that's alright, it doesn't matter. The first island is Frigid Isle. This is not a PvP island, but it's primarily a leaderboard island. It shows the leaderboards and stats to everybody, but a very important thing here is Stefan. You can talk to him, and he'll give you quests, and upon completing them, you get rewards just like you would for daily quests. But a big thing is he gives you Stefan power, and that builds up over time, and the more of it you have, the more matter you gain. So completing his quests as often as possible is very important for getting as much matter as possible. Now let's go to an actual island where we can do PvP. I'm going to go to Snowy Hills so I can demonstrate everything. So these guys are inverts. I'll show you the difference here in a minute. These inverts have pretty low health. You should be able to kill them pretty easily. Low rarities most of the time, just overall low stats. And upon killing them, they will drop a particle they can pick up, giving you everything that a particle would typically give you from your core. These inverts have 11 different types. Those being normal, sharp, which gives 1.5x damage, plated, which gives them 1.5x health, powered, which gives 1.5x damage and health, healing, which means it gains 0.5% of its max health per second, fading, it despawns faster than normal, speedy, has 1.25x speed, ranged, they can target players from a lot further away, spiked, they can spawn spikes from under the ground to attack the player, laser, they spawn in like a spinning laser on the floor that can hit the player, and explosive, which means they explode upon death. Explosive being the most lethal by far. A lot of obverts, when exploding, can do high volumes of damage that can very easily kill the player if you're not careful, which is another reason why it's very smart to have resistance and high health in this game opposed to swordfactoryx. This is the obvert area in Snowy Hills. As you can see, it's like a small little box in the corner of the map with a lot less mobs inside of them. But what makes them different is that they're consistently higher rarities than the inverts in the area, consistently higher grades and overall stats. And also, instead of dropping just a particle, they also drop cores. They drop a core corresponding to all their stats, that being their rarity, mold, grade, absolutely everything. Meaning that it's very good to go and farm these to get valuable cores. And if you've played swordfactoryx, you might be familiar with the term quad stack. If you don't know what that means, I'll briefly explain it for you. This board right here can't be a quad stack, but it can be in some areas. But you can see 3 different types of spawns. That means every certain amount of spawns, it'll boost the luck of the obvert that spawns. So, for example, next spawn, the obvert will have 3 times luck, meaning it has a higher chance to be a higher rarity of an obvert. And all these spawns can line up eventually. So after a certain amount of time, all 3 of these would say, like, in one spawn, it will have super luck, best luck, and better luck. Meaning that all these things add up together and create a really lucky obvert that can have very high stats. Those are the case in this game. They are a thing, and they are extremely powerful. And if you find one in a server, you can probably kill it, and it'll be very, very, very solid core for you to use. And that's something I love that it transferred over from swordfactoryx. Is one of my favorite mechanics. And now the re-enchanter. The re-enchanter came back from swordfactoryx, which I am very thankful for. The re-enchanter is a very useful machine. It's probably one of the most crucial in the game as well, because it allows you to put enchants like luck on your sword or worth to get a lot more value on it. It's pretty self-explanatory on how it works. You put your core into it and re-roll the enchants that are on it for anything that you might specifically want. Anyways, I'm going to be ending the video here. If you'd like to see me start some gameplay videos of this game, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know, and I'll come right back and I'll start making more content on this game. And first link in the description will be the link to this game. Make sure to check it out. I know you all love it, especially if you like swordfactoryx. See ya.